It'll probably be made up for by the grammatical feature of the week, which is tense. So, tense, which is, there are two tenses in English, past and non-past. There are some truly, truly ludicrous claims about how many tenses there are in English, ranging from 3 to 12 to I think I saw someone claiming there were 16. But no, there are two. I'll write this down. Two, zwei, die, deux. Two tenses in English. I cannot exaggerate this enough. There are only two tenses in English. Popular myths are that aspects are tenses, which they're not, as I covered last week. And there is a future tense. Let me demonstrate right now. Right? How do you conjugate to have in the present? For example, have. How do you conjugate to have in the past? Had. How do you conjugate to have in the present? Future. Will have. It's the same word? It's the same word? It's literally the same word. This is a different word. This is a different word. These are the same words. They're the same damn words, okay? This is not a tense. Anyways, so there are two tenses, past and non-past, often called the present. And there are well, non-past is simple, right? Just so I can well, no, there are also non-finite tenses, not finite. There are also non-finite tenses. Which include the infinitive, the gerund, and the participle. And I think they're verb forms, actually. They're categorized as verb forms. I'll have to check that. No, yeah, they are verb forms, so they're not tenses. There are only two tenses. So, as I mentioned earlier, the infinitive is the base verb form that we use to divide all of our verbs, which in English is made with the word to followed by the verb. Like, for this example, we will use like a very uncommon verb. Like, today in French class, I learned the verb zèbre, derived from zèbre, meaning zebra. And it means to stripe. And that's all I've been thinking about. So we'll use the verb stripe today. So in the past tense, this would be striped. And that's it. And in the third person, you need to add an S. Stripe. Stripes. As in he stripes. in the first person singular, as in he stripes, right? Conventional for third person singulars, I mean, because they use this third person plural form since that's a recent invention. And there's no change. So some English speakers. Sorry, that comes later. There are also rules that comes with forming the past tense, and it's actually pretty perfect that I have striped here, because the last letter can sometimes be doubled when I'm forming the past tense regularly. So the difference between stripe and strip, between to stripe and to strip, is that this is a tense vowel. This is a tense vowel, and this is not, right? As well as this, the stress is on this syllable, while the final syllable of stripe, which is the P, which is the the final syllable of stripe, which I believe is, it is the P. Corrections coming next week, of course, if it's not. But which I believe is the P, is a PE, is not stress, and the stress falls on the first syllable. Right, strip, stripe, stripe. I like by the pitch accent you can tell stress as well. I'll get into pitch accent later. Many weeks later, but it's a very, very complicated topic. I'll probably need a whole video just dedicated to pitch accent, but the past tense of to stripe is stripped, and the past tense of to stripe is striped, and the past tense of to strip is stripped. Why? It's quite simple, right? This, when there's one vowel, when there's one consonant in between, this still modifies this. So this is still a tense vowel. However, if there are two letters in between, this no longer modifies this. And so this is now the same vowel as this. Let me just mark this. This is a lax vowel, and this is a tense vowel. Right? This is still a tense vowel, and this is still a lax vowel. Isn't it beautiful how this language works? Things you thought were irregular are now regular. And that's the beauty of language learning. But yeah, if the final syllable is stressed, then you duplicate the consonant. If the final syllable is not stressed, then you do not duplicate the consonant. Again, to preserve the vowel. It's very rare. The Brits like to do this with L too, but I don't really get it. So for example, to travel. Right? That would be travel in America and travel in British. GA is General American. GB is Great British. Great Britain, obviously. Although I should probably switch this to US since GA is a spoken standard. Although this also applies to Australia. Why? Well, because this is reduced. So these two have the same result because these are both reduced. So there is no difference in pronunciation between these two. Some English speakers mistake the past participle of the past with something else. Let's take this verb, to sing, which has an irregular past because it is a Germanic heavy verb. So what is a Germanic heavy verb? In Old Germanic, which was the ancestor of English, because the people who spoke English came from what is now Schleswig-Holstein in Germany, which you might know as that one place that France tried to take. If you studied your war history, where is that Alsace? I swear. Oh no, that's different. If you study your history, you know that Schleswig-Holstein is half Nordic, half German, right? And I think it was Bismarck actually who solved that question and incorporated it into Germany. But history has nothing to do with this, because the Angles spoke Old English, which came from Germanic, and in Germanic there's a system of what we called strong and weak verbs, not heavy and light. That's something else entirely. But strong and weak verbs, where strong verbs were altered with mutation of the vowel, and weak verbs were altered in this verb. So what is to sing? What is the conjugation of to sing in the past? It's sang, as in I sang. But hold up. Isn't there also this one other form with a U? What's that about? That is a participle, which is not technically a tense, but I figured I'd merge in here because I don't know where else to include this. This can honestly be a whole separate segment of its own, but participles are a word derived from a verb that is used like an adjective. In most cases, the past participle is the same as the... I'll do past participle first, because that's the complicated one. Right? The past participle is the same as the simple past in most occasions. In some occasions, they're different. In most occasions, they're the same. And same goes for the gerund too. That's why people find it very confusing that wait, it's not the same word. People will say I sung, but that's a different tense. That has a different aspectual connotation to it. But and the present participle is equal to the present plus ing. I am abusing glossing rules here, but I did not read any glossing rules, so that's pretty good, in my opinion. I think present is PT, but these both have PT, so I don't get it. I don't know. Anyways, participles are like forms of verbs that are used as adjectives. For example, he sung, like as in he's singing. They are also used in the construction of a passive voice, such as in he was stung. But this does not equal he sang. So I can use these like adjectives. For example, like his song was sung. I feel like that's pretty obvious, but yeah. Another thing is that unlike normal adjectives, these don't take other adjectives to form an adjectival phrase. These take an adverb to form an adverbial phrase. So do not say, his song was sung beautiful. This is a mistake I find with a lot of ESL learners. His song was sung very beautiful. No. No. Beautifully. Beautifully. And present participles, yeah, as I said, is from present and ing. Participles, as I said, are also used to construct a passive voice, which I'll cover in future weeks, which is completely outside the scope of this video, and is also used to construct aspectual phrases, such as he was singing, which, as you might remember, is in the past continuous. But this takes the present participle and the past tense of is. And that is a continuous construction in English. Third person singular pronoun plus the past tense of is plus the present participle. Some literature like to categorize verbs like sung, participles like sung, as passive. Because if you say he was sung, that implies a passive voice, but not many people agree with that. But oh no, that's just how you construct voice. He had sung. Right, with the past tense of have instead of is, would connote the perfective aspect. Right? I think that's all. Yes, that's all. Next week we cover modalities, which is the final part in this trilogy of verbs.